So what inspired you to write Black Eagle Force?
Well, as writers, of course, it's always called the muse.
What is your
But-
muse?
But in this case, a friend of mine who retired from the Marine Corps major a number of years ago had written a novel called Verdict in Search of a Crime. And he sent it to Buck and I, because we had been writing screen and teleplays for some time. And he said, Kenny, can you do a screenplay on my novel? I said, sure, send it down, John. He sends down 848-page novel. Well, we did write a 120-page screenplay. And when we finished, we looked at each other and said, hell, we can write a novel. So that was the genesis.
That was the day this was born.
It was born.
All right.
Wham.
So what inspired you, Buck, to write this novel?
I've been reading a lot of Dale Brown books and Clyde Cussler books, and I really enjoy the genre of the action military novel. And after he wrote the screenplay, he said, let's write a book, and we came up with the idea of writing one that was a military action thriller. And we chose the Black Eagle Force because we both liked the comic strips from back in the 50s and 60s. Actually went back to the 40s, before my time, of the Black Hawks. And that was my inspiration for coming up with the idea of the Black Eagle Force.
So Buck, what qualifies you to write this book?
As Ken said, we've written numerous screenplays. I wrote a little bit when I was in high school, and in the Air Force I wrote operations plans and regulations at 12th Air Force headquarters down at Merchant Air Force Base, and wrote the entire search and rescue plan for 12th Air Force. When I was at Delta Airlines, I wrote what later became the foundation for the Federal Flight Deck Officer program following 9/11. I went on CNN and did a few interviews about making my recommendation for what we should do to get the airlines going back up and with a improved security. So that was one thing that led to me writing screenplays.
So Ken, what qualifies you to write this book?
I can spell?
Well, that helps. Spell check helps too.
No, I've been a professional actor for almost 40 years, and started doctoring scripts about 76, meaning fixing them. And so my expertise lies in drama and dialogue. Buck's expertise is in battle scenes and air combat and dogfights. And now, but after 5 or 6 years, we began to blend into each other. So we edit each other's stuff. But that's kind of the way we started out. We'll say, okay, you write about down in the Situation Room at the White House, and I'll do the dogfight out over the island.
So come here, Buck. So do you two ever write together?
All the time, pretty much.
Our desks at the office are close together, but I'm generally a late night person. Ken's an early morning person, so I'll finish whatever I'm writing at home, and I'll email it to his house, and then he'll work on it in the morning and come to work, and we'll look at it, and we'll read each other's stuff and send it back from computer to computer or with flash drives if we have to. The collaborative efforts are a little bit of a challenge sometimes, just because you don't know exactly where the stories are going. We don't write out outlines of where stories are going to go. We start off with a premise, and we know we're going to have certain things going to happen, and we know where the end generally is going to be and where the beginning is, but all the stuff that happens in the middle is pretty much spontaneous.
We kind of let the story write itself. And, we like for the characters to kind of take over and tell us where it's going to go. We know where the end of the road is, but how we get there, we let the characters tell the story, and it just happens.
One of the techniques we like to use is called a red herring, where we'll take a little bit of the book and we'll send it off in a direction which misdirects the reader into thinking that someone else is the bad guy or that someone else is going to be the good guy. And we find out that later on, hey, it's not the way it worked out. So that it's an element of surprise we like. One of the things we are very good at is actually writing so that the readers can use all of their senses. You know, the see, hear, feel, taste, touch, and smell. So we write about what the characters smell, what causes them to have primal fear, and what are they thinking, what their thoughts are, what their where they find joy, and where they things that really anger them. So we actually take the time to describe what you can see as if you were making a movie. The difference between movies and books is that the movie shows you everything. You don't have to describe the lady's dress or what the office looks like, because that's part of the set. In the book, you have to really, to bring the reader into the story, we like to be descriptive enough so that they can actually, you know, get a good feel for what type of oak desk or mahogany desk the Secretary of Defense is sitting behind, what the decorations are on the wall, and what his daughter looks like, and that sort of thing. We describe them so that the reader can actually feel like they know the characters. And once they finish the first book, they want to start on book number 2, because we've got some great characters we've developed.
See, like in the Secretary of Defense office, since the Secretary in our novels is a retired Brigadier General from the Marine Corps, on his wall in the place of honor is the famous picture of the Marines and the Corpsmen erecting the flag on Mount Suribachi at Iwo Jima. And so that is described, so that helps, especially people who've been in the military. Everybody knows that picture. They can do it. So it really becomes down to a point that we try to create a movie in the minds of the reader. And then when we get to the end, we always put a little twist to it.
Oh, readers love twists.
Surprise, surprise, surprise. Didn't see that coming, did you?
Now, y'all both were in the armed forces, is that correct?
Yes, we were.
What did you do?
I was in the Air Force. I started out in ROTC at the University of Texas. I got an appointment to the Air Force Academy in 1967. Entered there, and for pilot training at Reese Air Force Base, I went to Elmendorf Air Force Base, Alaska, in the 5041st Tactical Operations Squadron. A hodgepodge little outfit that flew a lot of Korean War vintage airplanes, and I flew 3 of them from that squadron. Came down to Bergstrom Air Force Base in Tactical Air Command and spent several years there as the Chief Airfield Management and Air Operations Officer in the headquarters. As a junior captain, everybody else is lieutenant colonel, generals. There I was. But I had particular expertise.
Easy for you to say.
That actually,
I think they're feuding.
Many of the guys in the headquarters didn't have, because I had spent my growing up years in the service in Alaskan Air Command, which was different than the Tactical Air Command. We had different regulations and had different experience levels.
What about your armed force experience?
Oh, it's what's euphemistically termed a jarhead. That's a Marine. Was in the HMM 777, which is Helicopter Marine Rescue, the big twin rotor. It tells how long it's been since I was in. We flew the HUP-2, which is the helicopter that dropped the Mercury capsule in the ocean. And they whoops, you got another one of these? No. And so they mothballed it after that. And then I got out because I fractured my neck playing football for the base. And they said, we don't need you anymore. So I went home and took up acting.
Wow.
And so what we try to do when Buck and I write is we don't tell the story to the reader. We bring the reader into the story.
Wow.
That is all I want for someone to say after they read our novel. Wow, I was entertained. Can you ask for anything more than that?
No. No, you can't.